All right, so the final campaign in the standard campaign setup is our scale campaign. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to just set up the scale campaign, and then there's going to be a separate module for the exact graduation system, which we're going to do right after this. So the scale campaign is a very standard campaign. By the way, this advice has changed since the last time I've published this publicly on YouTube. So this is behind the scenes. This is as updated as I could possibly make it. So in this case, our standard scale campaign, it's a sales campaign. We are going to name this ML scale. I like all caps for my scale campaign always. Our daily budget. We like to start this low and work it up. The reason that we start this low is because if we are just having one or two ads in here to start, we can't support it by like a massive budget. A lot of people make the misconception that just because it's called the scale campaign means we spend the most amount of money on it. The scale campaign's purpose is to give additional forced budget to proven ads. Nothing magical happens in the scale campaign. Like, just to be very clear about that. The scale campaign doesn't give you a better ROAS. It doesn't make CPMs lower. It doesn't make you reach more people or do anything special. All the scale campaign does, literally, is it's a place, it's a home for the best creatives to live so that they can keep spending money. That's it. So let me show you why it's important though. So let's say we had an average budget of $800. If you had an average budget of $800, or excuse me, if you had a prospecting budget of $800, what I would generally like to do is set my scale budget up for currently 10 to 20% of my average prospecting setup. So if I had an $800, I'll just go back over to this spreadsheet that's becoming our scrapyard. If I had an $800 prospecting setup, that means my scale setup, I want to be roughly around 20% of the prospecting, right? So prospecting PR 800, scale 160. Let's keep it simple, 150. You're going to notice by now that I don't care about some of these like little tiny details like, oh, it has to be exactly 20% or it has to be exactly 87.5. I don't, those are anyone preaching that that's going to make the difference. I'll be straight up. They don't know what they're talking about here. This just has to be $150. So we're going to set this to 150. Why? Because 150 sounds and feels better to me than 160. All right. Next piece here is this is going to be a highest volume or value campaign. Everything here stays exactly the same. And then at our ad set, this is where we make a little bit of change. First off, we're going to set this to website as usual. We're going to use maximize number of conversions, purchase event. No changes here. No changes here. We are still using standard attribution. Okay. Moving past budget and schedule, keeping this as is. And then this is where things become a little bit different. In our audience section, we actually have a few choices here. What we want to do is we want to keep this Advantage Plus tag on because it technically uses a slightly different algorithm that involves more suggestive based exclusions and inclusions than a traditional algorithm, which is more manual based. What we're going to do is we're going to set up our custom audience exclusion here. As we can see, this label has changed in just the last few weeks. Any custom audiences added here will be excluded from the audience for this ad set. So in this case here, we're going to remove purchasers 180 days, and we're going to move site visitors 30 days. Okay, very simple. Now you might ask me, why aren't we also getting rid of add to cart 90 days and purchasers all time? It's a little complex, but think about it like this. If I added to cart 90 days ago and suddenly Facebook deems me as a person that might be high quality to make a purchase today, even though I've shown no specific action on this website, on our pixel, the Facebook standard events across the entire Facebook universe, right? So if I was a fashion brand and a user went to another fashion brand's website, showed intent to purchase there, Facebook knows of that connection. And now we're in the Advantage Plus algorithm a little bit better to actually showcase our next ad to them. If we had too many rigid exclusions across the account, we would not be able to get through that. That's exactly why I call them swim lanes, which I'm going to get through in a very detailed way. But swim lanes, basically, they allow water to flow, meaning they allow audiences to flow through, meaning if you make a splash in one swim lane, you're going to feel it in the others, but you're keeping your pretty straight and narrow way straightforward. So we put exclusions in for purchase 180 and visitors 30. Once we do this, our audience size is still going to be gigantic. It's a full broad audience, and all it has is this one single exclusion in place. Now, if you want to get more rigid, if you want to test this out, one thing you can do is you can further limit the reach of my ads, switch setup, and you'll still have this as a negative exclusion here. For the scale campaign, I don't recommend doing this. We have seen this work better. Very simply put. That is all we do to set up our scale campaign. Now, the next thing you need to watch right now is the video after this, because if you watch the scale campaign, you watch the 4 ad or campaign setups that I just did, and you don't go into the graduation process, then this whole system does not work. So we've set up our 4 core 4 campaigns. Now we need to start the graduation process, and what comes after the graduation process is going to be additive, more campaigns that I want you to have in your toolkit.